And good afternoon, Hunterdon County. This is Tony Page coming to you live from downtown Flemington. We're broadcasting out of the Flemington Car and Truck Country Broadcast Centre. A shout out to all of those great people working there with Mr. Califer, and we appreciate the support. Today we're joined by Mr. Wayne Ingram, who is a legendary engineer, I believe, in the Hunterdon, Somerset, Morris and Warren area. Good day to you, sir.
How you doing, Tony?
Very well. That's a deep voice you've got there too. I'm going to
made for radio.
Yeah, absolutely, and the face to go with it, as we were discussing before. So I usually give a little bit of a weather forecast. It is cold out there, particularly when you're in the shade. Would you agree?
Not April weather.
It's not April weather. What is April weather in Jersey?
I'm hoping for at least 60.
60. Well, it's going to be 27, 28 lows this weekend. Is
Phenomenal.
that? Yeah, yeah. But then I think it's probably going to be hot and humid the rest of April, do you think?
Yeah, it's never temperate. It's always goes from 40 to 90. That's what we're used to.
And that's what we get paid the big bucks for, to be here and give weather forecasts. So moving right on along, you are a specialist of many things, I believe. One of which is you've recently got married, you're buying a new house. You are truly helping the economy here.
Single-handedly.
Single-handedly. Hopefully you're going to have help with that now.
I
so
believe
congratulations. And you move into Clinton Township.
Yep, leaving Raritan after 26 years.
Yeah, well, in more ways than one, too. You were on the planning board there?
I was a zoning board chairman for probably at least 5 years and on the board for about 10.
Well, I'm the co-chair of the Young Professional Network for HSAR, but I'm not sure that is in the same realm, you know. But well, thank you for your service. It's never easy. We'll probably try and come back to some of those experiences and observations, if you don't mind, later. So, just for the people that are either listening live, if you are listening live, you can actually participate in the show by calling in. Bruce, do we have the number available? We do. It's 908-619-8656. That's my cell phone. And Joe, if you're calling, get to the point, please. So, you are with EP-L, is it?
E&LP.
I was close. Okay, I think I had the right letters.
Everybody tells me they reminds them of Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
And one of the group just passed away, I think, actually, didn't they? Yeah. But we digress. not to happen here on a regular basis. So, engineering, planning, and
engineering and land planning was the full name. We just recently shortened it up to.
So it is EL&P.
Yes.
Okay. So I still got it wrong. All right. So what do you do? And is it a practice? It's a professional engineering firm?
Yep. We're been around for about 15 years. About a 30-person firm at the moment. Do engineering, planning, land surveying, and environmental work.
You've actually been doing it for. You look too young. You know, are you really working hard enough at this? Like
I've been there for about 10.
Yeah.
My partner Eric Reyes started the firm in 2000.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, as I said before, and I'm very serious, it looks you've been sunning yourself. You've got a tan. You know, your photo online actually makes you look more. Did you do that intentionally so you look as though you've got a lot more experience under your belt?
It helps.
It helps. Okay. All right. Well, I'm trying to look younger, so, you know, I'm going the other way. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your specialty, what really excites you, some of your challenges in your job, and how people can contact you to avail themselves of your services?
Sure. Well, at this point, I'm mainly in charge of doing a lot of the site plan applications, you know, presenting a commercial or residential project to the towns.
Are there many commercial projects on at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, we work
Good.
throughout the state, so, you know, helps to spread it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But we have a fair amount of projects here in Hunterdon County.
Private, public?
Mainly we work with private clients. We do a little bit of public work, mainly park development and building some new schools. But other than that, mainly in the private field.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. So that's mainly my area of expertise, anything with land development. We also do environmental remediation. So if you have a leaking oil tank or something like that, we do the cleanups. Also do
But you don't actually do the work yourself, judging from your nice hands. You know.
No, we typically we do the reporting and working with the DEP.
Okay.
You know, to resolve those cases.
With the municipality as well?
We have done public projects for that as well.
Well, just with the cleanups, I was getting, because so often I thought the municipality also had a hand in it, or they are handing everything to the DEP.
Well, when you pull a tank, that's inspected by the township, but once it's determined to have a leak, that goes
They're
straight
out
to the DEP.
until it's been fully remediated,
remediated.
and
Yep.
and refilled. And is it still called a no further action required letter, or has it changed again?
It depends whether you're residential or a larger site.
Okay.
Residential cases can still be closed out fairly simply. Commercial sites with larger spills, they have a new program called the LSRP, which is essentially allows the professional to manage and close the case at their own discretion as long as they follow the requirements. So in a lot of ways it helps speed up the process. Basically takes DEP out of the mix.
Right, and they're happy with that. I'm sure there's still fees being paid to make sure that it's being.
Of course, it's a
Yeah.
fee-funded organization.
Well, yeah. And are you a user pay advocate? By that I mean as close to the people that are using the infrastructure or the service or whatever actually pay for that service.
Generally, yes.
Generally, yeah, yeah. Well, so am I. Yeah, yeah. So, any other specialties of your company, or one of the things was with wastewater management. I think you've done quite a lot in that in the area of septic and sewer plants, and we will delve into this a bit more, particularly with some greenfield, i.e., land with unimproved potential, I guess you call it, and what you can do, given if you're in the highlands with setbacks, with the what do you call it, percolating of the absorption
soils,
of the
sure.
soils, because there's certain areas that are a bit problem, the sour lands. We have some interesting terrain and arsenic and
Yeah.
your rock.
Hunterdon
and
County is surprisingly diverse in its soil conditions.
Yes, yeah. Well, I must admit, I was at at a men's breakfast, and the Raritan Headwaters. Did I mention this to you on the phone?
Yes.
Yeah. So Christy McDonald, PhD, Director of Science, gave a very interesting presentation. I think you said you've actually just finished some work for them as well.
Yep, they're a great organization. Recently got some site plan approval to do some modifications and upgrades to their property.
Okay.
So they do a lot of good work over there, and it's a nice
Okay.
project to be a part of.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the flow of water, it's basically gravity fed predominantly, except for Round Valley, correct?
Sure.
Round Valley, how are they going to fill it back up again?
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
hear the same thing every year. The reservoirs are low, and
Yeah, but that they've got to pump it.
yeah, got to keep it full. Yep,
It's nowhere near full. I live on the sides of it.
never is. Yeah.
So what happens? Is it just water leaking out, or are they actually flushing it somewhere? Or are they?
It's use and it's lack of rainfall. I mean, it hasn't been an overly wet winter. Had a couple
Right.
big storms, but really it's been fairly dry, and it's bad for that. But it's also been made it more difficult for many of the septic systems tests that we perform.
Do you think you could come up with some innovative ways of seeding the cloud so we could actually get a little bit more water? Like, are you looking at any of this
Oh,
technology?
if I could do that, I would be retired.
You would be? Okay. Okay. Well, there's been everything from the contrails of planes, leaving behind all sorts of things. So, but that's
Chemtrails.
currently not with it. Yeah.
Chemtrails.
Thank you.
Contrails don't leave them.
Well, no, I know, but there was that controversy over what is really there, and are they monitoring the marijuana crops around the place, or all sorts of other things, So how do people get in touch with you? If you could give your website or email or phone number, so if people are excited and they've got a question for you and they're not calling into the show to get some included value, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. Our company phone number is 908-238-0544, and our web address is www.elp-inc.com, and we have a contact button on there if anybody has any potential projects or questions that people
Yep.
can send an email into that address, and we'll get back to them
Fantastic.
with some
I
answers.
think Bruce
Yes,
might
it's on the
actually.
screen.
Yeah, yeah. See, we have that technology here. It may be surprising, but we surprise people occasionally for the positive. So, with the formalities out of the way now, if we were to start to look at some of the redevelopment things that are going on in the general vicinity around, let's say, Hunterdon, Somerset, Warren, any sort of trends that you've sort of seen either in the commercial, residential, transport, you name it, that sort of stand out to you as a seasoned engineer of.
Sure. I think the Route 31 corridor has been one that in some areas has gotten run down, and it has a lot of vacant properties or underutilized properties. But certainly we've seen a lot of activity there with people looking to improve sites, upgrade them, build new. So that's been definitely an area of expansion. Another area we've seen is there's a lot of demand for contractor and landscaping storage yards for some reason. It seems to be a booming business. Everybody's looking for for land or property for those types of uses. So
wow, you're hearing all this first on Jersey Talk Radio's Real Estate. No, this is interesting.
Sure.
I'm very
Valid
serious.
information.
Yeah, great. Any other? Because I'm going to come back and ask a couple more questions on these.
I was down last week at the Builders Convention, and
where was that?
Atlantic City.
So Atlantic City, okay.
So it's always interesting to hear the outlook for real estate, and it seems that multifamily housing is still really that's a push that people are making, and it seems to be in real demand still. We have a lot of projects.
North, south.
A little bit of everywhere. Locally here in Hunterdon, we have potential projects in Raritan, Clinton. We have 3 underway in Highbridge Borough at the moment. I think there's been a lot of changes going on down there. One of which is under construction at the moment. So.
Okay. We'll come back to these if we can. So, any other ones? And at any time, if you have a recollection come back, feel free to share it, because mine disappear quicker. Okay.
Sure.
But that's one that I mentioned partly because of affordable housing, and I think you're very familiar with affordable housing.
Yes, most projects these days have to incorporate some version of it, whether you're a commercial developer paying your percentage to contribute to the town, or if you're a residential developer, if you're doing 8 units, 2 of them have to generally be allocated for that. So it comes into play quite often.
Yeah, and I think it's a tool that's quite often used by developers to assist, and probably will be more given the court's view.
Yeah, that's a very hot topic at the moment. A lot of the almost all municipalities right now are facing their day in court with determining what their affordable housing obligation is and will be in the future.
Right.
And how they're going to deal with that. I would say 90% of municipalities are probably don't have enough for what they're being told they're required to have. So leaves a lot of opportunities for developers to come in and present their own opportunities to help them mitigate that deficiency.
And one of the big challenges is wastewater management. Am I describing it right? When we're talking wastewater management, we're talking about toilets flushing. We're talking about sinks washing with laundry detergent. We're talking about washing machines washing, and the grey water that goes out. What have I missed? And obviously commercial sites, it runs the gamut of what's approved to be here. We're actually joined by Mr. Joseph Jumping Joe Eggert. Mr. Eggert.
Hello there.
Hello. Thank you so much for making time in your busy day to join us.
I had a day from hell.
Well,
hi, Wayne.
How you doing?
How are you? I'm sorry I can't be there, but I just got in and I see your 2 wonderful faces on the screen, and I just wanted to call in.
Thank you,
boy,
John.
I was out all day doing septic test, water test, clean out of the house. Not me personally, but trying to do
Are you
all
watching this, Joe? I'm
I am,
strumming for
I
you.
am.
Okay. All right. So
Yes, I am.
your septic inspection actually passed.
My God,
So did you pay
it's got to
off
be
work?
one
Is
of
that-
the first time I've had a septic test pass.
Congratulations. You
Yeah.
found somebody willing to take the
my
liability.
God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
I
do you
don't
want
have
to
to tell
give a
you-
testimonial to this gentleman? Or?
What?
No, sorry. I was just going to say, were you going to give a promotion to the person that passed the house?
The company that did the test?
Contractor, yes.
Yeah, with CIS. Sounds like
CIS,
NCIS.
okay.
Wonderful guy. Joe came down, and as any agent, we'll sit there. This is the part that we sit there and just, oh my God, have our fingers crossed, because in Hunterdon County, that is the biggest deal killer ever. Is a $30,000 septic.
Well, plus it's the amount of confidence you have in actually some of the items that are reported.
Oh, yeah.
I was at one time after a lot of rain, and I'm going, well, is this really the time to be doing this? But when you're on a schedule as part of the contract, you've got 10 days to perform all your inspections.
Yep.
And it really does. And we've asked other people, so does the rain and groundwater, sometimes when it's super saturated, actually cause problems?
I'm on the phone.
Absolutely.
Hello, I love her.
Yeah.
You certainly don't want to do it, the day of or after a rainfall if you have bad soil conditions.
And I felt sorry for these people, and I said, well, maybe you could get a second opinion. Do you recommend
Well,
something?
if I could say, it's still like a black science or black art. It depends who you get. They're shoving the T-rods in the ground. They're putting cameras. And to me, I'm going to be honest, I know we have the engineer there. Mm-hmm. It's very subjective, this test. I know they said, oh, well, it looks good, maybe not. I think I see. It is such a gray science or black science that it drives us crazy as realtors. And I understand the rationale behind it, but it is unbelievable. All the inspector has to do, and by the way, the inspector doesn't even have to be licensed. That kills me. The state of New Jersey, am I right, Tony and Wayne?
Absolutely, yeah.
So this fella, or woman, God bless him, comes out, and with one little check on the box, the whole thing went upside down. Numbers come up like $30,000. The poor homeowner is saying there, oh my God, I can't afford to do this. The buyers walk. It is a nightmare.
It really is, yeah. Now, do you know Doug Fine?
We do, yes.
Yeah. He's one person that's made his own practice out of helping with the inspection process, with designs.
Start to finish, yeah.
And I'm assuming you provide those same services?
Yes, we do.
Yep, with no conflict of interest, right? Because you don't do the work.
No, we do not do the installations. So, we occasionally we do inspections. It's really not. Usually, we're the second firm to come in. If there's a discrepancy, we typically stick to that. And then certainly we do the designs, but no installation.
How does Wayne sound? I'm actually starting to feel envy here. He's got a better voice than me, I think, for this.
I'm having a hard. I'm on my landline phone. I'm having a hard time hearing you guys, and I raised the volume a little.
Look, Bruce said, and thanks for saying hi to Bruce. He's not
I can't see Bruce.
Well, he's here.
Bruce, I know he's back there. I can see all his work on the screen. He always just does a great job. Very professional.
Yeah,
and the other question I have for Mr. Wayne.
Oh, okay.
How come the eco housing has never taken off?
Good question.
Yeah, that is interesting. I don't know that I know the answer to it, but I agree with you. I've probably in 10 years have done 4 eco housing projects, and
part of it is because it's got to be removed. But for our listeners, since we hopefully will have one out there, would you like to describe it, or would you like Joe to? I think would be safer actually if you could.
Well,
Wayne tell him, what is eco housing? Explain. I know what it is, but Wayne.
Well, to my knowledge, essentially, if you have an aging relative who you want to bring to your onto your property, and you don't necessarily want to have them in your home, give them their own personal space, you essentially can put a separate building on your property under this program as a temporary measure, and they allow you to do it generally without making modifications to your septic because it is temporary, basically to allow you to have your relative live there. When they pass or when they leave, you have to have the unit removed from the property. So I think that's probably been one of the key things that people don't generally take advantage because it's a big investment, and at the end of the day, you have to remove your investment. So you outlay money to put it in, and you outlay money to get rid of it at the end.
Yeah, I actually, and I've just got to say, Bruce, he's not replacing me, okay? That's it. He's not. As I'm here, I was having trouble.
I'm loyal to the first timer. So
thank you.
Don't worry about it. You're safe.
Good description of exactly what it is. That's exactly it. Now, why don't we actually have some costs though for it? Because I get asked all the time for in-law suites. I don't get asked for eco-housing units.
It's true.
But if you could put together a package for an affordable solution, who wouldn't really want to have mum and dad or the in-laws out the back rather than the big house? And and you can have them all self-sufficient, right? Now, you've actually done 4. Were they all fairly similar, or were they a little unique in each case?
Fairly similar. I mean, generally.
If I could, I'm saying is.
No, you can't.
Oh, second.
No.
What I'm saying is that we have to, the senior citizens out here, I know you're going to say Joe included, I got it, but the senior citizens out here are having a problem staying in their homes, and their kids or children are trying to make decisions what to do. And, one of them is they say, sell the house, Mom, go here, go here. So we're really having a big concern, and I see a lot of it with people as they get older, not what to do with them, but how do you handle them? Because they can't be by themselves because they need medication sometimes. To have them close to the house is really neat. And then we're getting now multi-generational houses where you sell a big house and they move into the house. But I see it as a concern. Ranches, nobody builds ranches anymore, affordable ranches, which seniors really like because they're all on one floor. So I really think that our concerns or issues could be addressed to the seniors better for housing. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think you've actually raised, and we have discussed this a few times, but the sort of flags went off. It really could be a cost-effective solution because I don't know that the towns are really taxing it for any more, are they? Do you know?
I don't think so, but I'm not positive, no.
So if you look at a financial analysis of it, you're really saving on property tax. If you follow the Jeff Otto do not buys and you bought the big house on a big lot, you're going to have enough land there. The only thing is plugging it into a septic because you don't want to put in its own dedicated septic. You do a shared-icated type solution. Yeah. And hopefully the rigs are a little bit easier to plug one in.
I think so. I mean, I don't think it was an overly complicated process. You know, when I was on the board in Raritan, we saw quite a few number of applications of people going for variances or other things to do additions on their home to have separate units, which is a tricky issue because everybody's always afraid, when your parent leaves or, that you're just not being truthful, that you just, either want to have an apartment or, whatever the case may be. But, people, seem to tend to want to, make an addition a permanent feature to the house rather than those units. But I agree, it can be. I mean, it could be an effective solution, especially if it's a temporary item.
And if you've got sufficient land, it's relatively simple to plug into the infrastructure, including electricity and. Do you put a driveway over there or, some sort of paver solution? I'd actually like to do that another time and actually see if we could come up with just a proposal for it because Joe's hit on it. We have this aging population here, many of which would like to stay here. And I have a client actually that's in Lambertville is interested in bringing his parents in with him but you try and find an in-law suite in Lambertville or New Hope under $600,000 and it's like hen's teeth. So like in that sort of setting, can you think how an eco solution could work when you don't have land as such? You have a home. Are they relatively easy to reconfigure? Is that even an option?
I mean, typically as a modular unit, you are kind of out of luck if you have a smaller piece of property, because there's still, requirements, temporary or not, that you have to be certain setbacks and things like that. So on small properties, and then, if you're on a small property, chances are so are your neighbors. So how do you get the thing onto the property in the first place?
Crane in a few of those containers, put them together, and they do them, But that
it needs to be said.
But, let me interrupt you guys. Stop talking.
Okay.
Stop it.
Bruce was just starting. I was going to shut him down for a while anyway, Joe. But that's
no.
Okay,
that made me lose my. What's the town's feeling on this? I know while we're talking on Echo and all, it's just something that troubles me because now is that subject to each town? The town allows Echo or not? I don't think too many towns do. Am I wrong, Wayne, or what? Or do you know of any?
I haven't seen a lot of prohibitions. I mean, I've seen units in Raritan, Reddington, Alexandria, and the ones I've worked on. But
did you say Reddington allows it?
I know there was an issues where they were, they had some requirements for it, and I think they changed them recently. I mean, it's a statewide program. That's right. But I think townships all have a different feeling about what they'll allow with it. So we've seen variance applications even with Echo Housing where people couldn't locate it where the required location was, so they came in to get a variance for it. So there are instances where it certainly makes sense. But you're right. I mean, in terms of ranches, how many ranches have been built in the last 25 years?
That's what everyone wants.
And how do you, as an older person, how do you not have that?
See, I tell you, he's after my job. Joe, you check out the website. He looks a lot older on it. He's younger in person. I swear.
All right, listen. I'm going to
Oh.
let you. I'm having a hard time.
What?
Must be my telephone. I apologize, but I
is.
I just saw somebody drink wine. Now I got a delay here, so I think you guys are having a wine glass there. Which goes
No,
Tony.
no. I've got yours over here. Are you coming to drink it, or should I give it to Wayne?
Give it away. No, what I'm trying to actually do is put my feet in hot water because my feet are like 2 ice bricks all day in this cold house.
House.
Oh, my
your
God.
power is back on. He lost power, and
No, well, no, not my house. I'm talking about the house in Highbridge I was in.
Okay.
I was in there from this morning till now, waiting for first the septic guy. Then we had Dominique come in, who's doing the clean out because we got to empty the house.
Okay, and how
And
did
then
that
we
go?
had we had my friends at Frontgate come over and do the water test. Finally, we got water in the house. By the time I left, I'm like, my
This
feet
is
are like bricks.
Yeah. Well, maybe we
And
could
they
replace.
and they wonder what the
Joe
real estate agents do. Anybody ask that,
Yeah.
we'll have to talk to Tony and Joe because I can't believe what we do.
I hear
they really
you.
have-
No. All right, sir.
Okay, listen, you
Oops,
guys.
just
I'm
dropped my
sorry about today, but as they call, duty calls. Take care, Wayne. Thanks for coming over.
It does. Mr. Manny is off in maneuvers. That's Manny, a mortgage minute man. He's in
Mortgage Manny,
Shrewsbury,
yep.
I think, working on a closing. I think you and I have both got something going with him at the moment, so he's
we've
busy.
We've been kind of crazy. I mean, this business calls you, and you got to answer when it calls, as you all know.
It
So
does.
take care, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. All the best.
Bye bye.
That was Mr. Joe Eggett with Waikato Realtors, who is a stellar realtor. He does bring up some of the same points from time to time, but pretty much they are valid, So, what was I going to say? The eco, it is an interesting concept, isn't it? You
Yeah,
know?
certainly.
And, I think for keeping family units together and things, I was actually pretty impressed when I first saw it. Don't know anyone personally that's actually participated in the program. And I guess part of it is, you just don't know how long your loved ones are going to be with you. And, if you were able to do that, North Carolina and South Carolina really don't look as attractive. Because when you can stay here and actually have a home for... I must look into it to find out what the criteria is. Do they need to be in some way incapacitated?
No, I think it's just essentially a blood relative of a certain age is really the main requirement.
That's we will, because that could actually work quite well for a number of places, and hopefully, you could have a reasonably nice designed manufactured building that would be trucked to your,
I think many of them
prefab.
are attractive. I mean, they don't
Yeah,
look
we're
out
not
of
talking
character.
trailer homes here.
No. I mean, they may be, modular in that respect, but
yeah.
they finish them off as if they're,
Right.
a permanent feature to the property.
Yeah, so, and you can have them back a little bit further, so definitely interested in that. Okay, multifamily housing. And if you remember anything, just give me a nudge nicely, and I'll say no. But you're welcome to bring something up. Raritan, Clinton, and Highbridge. Three, can you give us a quick overview? I think I know the one in Clinton. It's by the library. Is that the one on Halstead Street you're talking about? Is that...
Yes, that was a project we had some participation in.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they are planning to, go back to proceeding with that.
They actually designed.
Yeah, they made some changes recently.
Yeah, I think there's 30-something units going to be going in there. But that's not the multifamily you were referring to?
No, I mean there's a lot of potential projects going on in town. There's always been consideration for the redevelopment of the Agway property. What might happen,
I
there in
have
the
tried
future.
to find out who really owns it. Aquin is the servicing company, and it's hard to find out because
My lips are sealed.
Yeah, well, no, they you actually know?
Yes.
Yeah, well, Janice Kovacs, the mayor, I think she knows too. And but Aquin certainly were the people that were still doing it, but it hasn't changed hands yet, has it?
I don't believe officially.
No, because it was caught up in Lehman Brothers, and I did do quite a bit of research, and it was like, oh, crazy. But so that's one of the sites, but there's nothing planned there. But what would you foresee as a good redevelopment purpose of the Agway? Because it's about 5 acres.
Decent sized property, especially
right
for
by 78.
for Clinton. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Main Street. Yeah.
But I think a commercial. I mean, I think when you're looking about the redevelopment and improvement of Clinton, you want to do a mixture of commercial and residential. I mean, that's that's what I think that the town needs is a little bit more commercial, but people are really looking for smaller rental capabilities.
Well, it's
That's
interesting, yeah, because there is two Clintons, right? And
Yep.
you were talking about Clinton Town,
town, yep.
or Township, yeah, and you don't differentiate, or because the town is doing very well. I work right on the main street there. You know, we
Yeah,
have a
I've
little-
seen a lot of improvement. We've done
Yeah.
a lot of projects in town. There aren't a whole lot of new buildings, that go up in the downtown.
they
but
don't want new
Yeah.
buildings, and that's sort of the fabric. And if we get a chance, we'll talk a little bit about Flemington, because that's my sense that some of the fathers of the shaping of the ongoing Flemington really want to try to keep the sort of what would you call it, the designs and a lot of the housing stock.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
historic nature of
Nature,
the
it
town.
really is, yeah, and I don't fault them for it, quite honestly.
Not at all.
I
You can't get it back once it's gone.
you
so.
really can't. And Raritan, in some ways, was more of a green field. You didn't have as many, and when I say you, I mean when you were representing Raritan Township, which is the classic donut around Flemington. So you've actually gone with a lot more development.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has been due to the Highlands. So
Really?
as North Hunterdon basically became undevelopable,
Yeah.
because of the restrictions, everything had to be forced south.
Okay.
So Clinton is really the first town that escapes the Highlands. And what are your two municipalities that have are out of the Highlands and have mainly
Clinton
sewer
Township's
access?
gone into the Highlands. You do know that, right?
Yes and no. They're in the process of getting there, but
Oh, you're good.
still not quite restricted at this point. I've been telling all my clients to act now for the last year. If you
Really?
want to get something done, do it before they do that.
Well,
I
we
think-
had John Higgins on here, who was on the planning board and is now the
Mayor.
mayor, and a very level-headed individual. I think you'd agree. Former
Very much so.
Merck and nice person. Like, who else is going to give of his time as he does? And yourself. Like, it's a thankless job, and I know several others, and that they're done. They don't even want to come on the show and talk about their experience, and we respect that. It's my understanding, though, that the only exemption that they have made is for the YMCA in their Highlands proposal, and they are, as you said, just about fully done with
Yeah. They haven't adopted their land use ordinance, so applications can still come in without having any restrictions on them.
Okay.
But that could change at a moment's notice.
So you heard it here from Mr. Wayne Ingram saying, if you're in Clinton Township, the time is ticking.
Absolutely.
Good point. So Highbridge, I was just trying to think, what are there solid applications for multiple family housing in front of these municipalities like Raritan, Clinton, or Highbridge? If we could just look at one just to see what the landscape might look like. 'Cause
Sure.
You made reference without my prompting to ranches, which is incredible. But everyone wants one of a certain age. Why? Because there isn't as many stairs. They want a basement just for storage. And, obviously the cost should be a little bit less than the larger colonial. You'd agree?
True, but we have done a couple ranches recently, which always surprises me. But it's people who are leaving their current home and looking for that one-story building, and they're building new because
Right.
they don't like the ranches that are on the market for what they're looking for. And
Right.
I don't find them actually to be cheaper because people basically take that two-story house they had and they just spread it out on one floor,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
actually pay more to build one story than you would to just keep going up.
Yeah.
So
But it's a lifestyle thing.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it certainly has its value.
So I guess that's one of the things that I'm guilty of, thumping my chest saying, why don't developers look at this? But the point really is, for the square footage, it increases the price per square foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
And you can't really make a
understandable.
community in that respect because you don't know, most people do want the two-story. So, can you intermix a ranch every once in a while?
container
Maybe,
ranch?
But
Maybe. Well, we were talking about logistics. The Panama Canal is now enabling these 18,000 container vessels to come up to the port of Newark, Elizabeth. So I'm expecting we're going to see more containers on the roads, and we've discussed this.
oh,
and
wonderful.
Yeah, so welcome to Clinton Township. Just don't be going east in the morning.
Yeah.
Because the trucks that they drop them. They all sort. But all joking aside, and architectural. What got you into the engineering field? Why did you
I don't know. I went to school first at Rutgers and then NJIT, and it was I knew I liked science. I knew I liked math.
Yeah.
I started taking classes, and then I realized I didn't like moving parts. So that's why I was like, oh, civil's nice. Everything pretty much stays still. The soil doesn't move. You know, it's
The sciences. Wow. Good for you. Well, yeah. Bruce, I wouldn't cut you off. You know that like Joe did. So did you have a question? Well, I'll give you more time to set up there.
No, actually, no, I just wanted to go over some of the criteria on eco housing. And I'm sure it varies state to state, so I don't know what Pennsylvania's rules are, but it does not require, it looks like, anything other than 62 years old and some familial relationship.
These days. Yeah.
You know, but obviously if you put an eco house on there, it reduces this, you know, the area where you can hide the bodies if you knock the in-laws off.
Well, if you're
You
Nucky
have to keep that in
Thompson,
mind.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you might be
It's true.
altering the tomato patch there because there's no place to put the bodies.
Okay, Joe. You're probably right to make those
No,
comments.
but
yeah,
it
no,
doesn't
the
look like there's
bodies
a lot
and-
of restrictions. It's very interesting to see the changes in the demographics of our society in terms of caused in to a great extent by the economic situation. You've got the return of multi-generational families at a very, very accelerated rate because younger people are not getting jobs.
can't move out.
They stay in school, and because of the requirement in many cases, go look on the job list. You have to have a master's degree to even get considered anymore because we have unfortunately watered down the bachelor's degrees. So you have people that are in their late 20s and 30s that are just now getting to the point to starting. They have high,
Student loans.
student loan burdens.
Yeah.
They can't qualify. We've changed all the criteria, as you gentlemen know. Well, you certainly know because you're in the business. Manny knows. You have to, if you're self-employed, you have to walk on water to get a loan.
Oh.
I don't know what your experience was, but it's
actually,
much
how was
different a
yours?
structure. Yeah, what was it?
Getting
we'll
a
come
loan?
back to the
Yes.
ecos in 62.
No problem whatsoever.
You obviously had a good agent. I don't want you
Really?
to. So seriously, we are
You get
totally
it from the
open.
mob or what?
Explain what was nice about yours, because we like to give best practices.
Well, in my first loan I took about 7 years ago, I went to a big bank and I realized what a mistake that was.
Yeah.
They don't
I showed up the day of my closing, and all of a sudden they told me my loan was revoked. And they
Thank
had
you. Very
they had
nice
run
timing.
the credit on the last day the day of closing for another Wayne Ingram.
Yeah, that's AKA.
Yeah, and it just, all of a sudden I didn't qualify, and then, spent hours correcting it for them to realize they just had the wrong Social Security number.
Yeah. And I'm assuming you'd given them the right one.
Absolutely. And if I had given them another Wayne Ingram and given them the wrong number, that would be pretty small odds.
So this was pre-Consumer Fraud Protection Bureau and or Consumer Financial.
Right, financial protection.
So now I think they would be able to claim a big charge on them, but I don't think you'd get any money.
No.
But
This
that's
is
not
why
frank, but-
service the person is the customer,
So you've actually just closed because you've closed under
next
new
week.
okay.
Is my closing.
Well, maybe we'll have to have a call with
yeah,
you.
you
Right.
know, I may
You
be
know?
complaining next week.
he may
but,
be busy that day trying to get his credit line
No,
straightened out.
this time I went with a smaller local bank, and I think everybody follows the same rules. But I think if you go to the local guys, they help you out more.
Well, it's easier to get your
Yeah,
your
they're
hands
more on
around
top of
somebody's
you.
throat because it's the local. It's not somebody
No,
in
good for
Cleveland,
you.
you know.
Yeah, well, it's keeping business local. I'm all for
Yeah.
that, so good on you.
Frank Alger, downtown Clinton.
Frank, good friend, right at
Phenomenal.
37 Main Street.
Really?
Yes.
What's the bank, though, a financial
I think he's,
institution?
Mortgage company.
MHM Lenders, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
is
okay.
His firm. Yep.
Wow. Well, good for you.
Yeah, go see Frankie there. He'll help you out a bit.
Yeah. All right.
I've
And
known
he's a
Frank for
member of
years.
the
He's a
guild,
great guy.
is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Well, he was instrumental in on the committee to get the Friendly Sons of
St.
Ireland.
Patrick.
Yeah, to do the
Yeah.
parade and all that neat stuff.
Well, one of
He's
those
a good
Irish
guy.
people called into my show, to the office today. He's just back, but it was a good St. Patrick's. I got there just after it, as usual, and stayed away from the emergency squad. But are you Irish at all, Ingram?
Scottish mostly.
Scottish.
There we
that
go. That's-
explains it.
excellent.
Oh, okay. Well.
Hey, do you and laddie talk about the Scotsman there?
The kilt, it's a giveaway.
That's right. You
That's
thought he
ours.
was wearing
Is
it.
this the family Ingram colours?
It's not
Yeah,
a dress with a
Oh,
sporran on it, lad.
Oh, the sporran. Haggis.
That's
Haggis.
right.
I've never had haggis and don't intend to. So
Do
I'm with
you
you.
one?
yeah, Yeah. Route 31 rundown. One of the things, and we're quite sensitive with Reddington Township because they tend to be a little bit of a lightning rod for what's going on in municipal politics, and they have a very large, or had a much larger pharma company there in Merck, and they also have sewer capacity, which I'm sure you are well aware of, and they have court cases, they have open space, they have been early innovators in monitoring wells for all sorts of different, what do you call those, pollutants or biologics?
Sure.
Or I forget what they're called, but Christy knows. And not Chris Christie, Christy McDonald,
Okay.
and the Brereton Headwaters
Yes,
people.
yeah.
Christy Todd Whitman, too,
And
former
well,
EPA director.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of history here, and not all of it good, but we still have Boardwalk Empire, and Nucky Thompson, It's I'm still enjoying that show. I'm up to season 4. So you didn't realise we were going to cover entertainment here too. Richard will be
variety of
calling.
That's
and
right. Well, that's my
complaining,
show,
taking it
so
off.
watch yourself.
That's your show. I thought it was Richard's. See,
No,
even
that's
the owners
entertainment.
fight here,
Question mark is
Oh.
Rich and I. And
Oh, okay.
So,
Be careful. Tracy Precy might be listening.
well,
I
I'm hoping
copied-
she is. She's kind
Really?
of gone off the grid here on us. We're trying to get a hold of her.
Oh, so she's
So we're
got
hoping she's all right, but
wind power, geothermal.
I don't know what she's doing.
You know,
Who knows?
tidal
She was
flow.
in Florida the last time she didn't make the show, and for the weekend she had to take care of a rental property, so it's very
Well,
pertinent to this.
she's a landlord down
I
there.
know. Well,
Yeah.
she got her tenant out, and she had to go do a rehab and get it re-rented. So
Mm.
yeah, so she had to do a lightning run down to.
Well, Tracy, if you're
Boca
listening, give us a call.
Yeah, Tracy, we
us a
miss
call.
you.
Yes,
Get back here.
yes. And there's some excellent movies out there that need your reviews. So,
That's right.
you know, do you want to give a bit of a pitch on
No.
what's going on with the entertainment?
Absolutely not.
Here in
I've
Flemington?
I've intervened in your show far too much already. Why take it even
I
further
usually do
down?
it, so yeah.
Why drag it down even further?
Yeah, well, Wayne's still smiling. Obviously, we're not doing
because,
things
you know,
right.
he's trapped. We got a chain around his ankle.
Ankle,
so-
yeah.
exactly.
Well, I thought that was actually the homing device. What do you call those? The
That's
monitor?
not a shirt. That's a
Ankle
vest with
monitor?
C4 in it. So he has
So-
no choice.
Route 31 rundown. What about Route 22? What about Route 202? You know, Route 202 has a lot larger entities along it. 22, you know, certainly going down towards Bridgewater. There's areas there that we've discussed with some of the folks at Reddington, said, hey, what are you doing about tidying this up? As well as the roads, you know, there are flooding issues along there. 31, they seem to work to their own drum, whatever that means, you know.
Yeah, but there's usually not a drummer around. That's the problem.
No,
He's
there's
taking
usually,
the week off. you
Yeah,
know?
a few flashing lights and, you know, of different colors.
Well,
and-
it's indicative when you see the grass growing up between the cracks in the new pavement that things aren't
Yeah.
moving along at a very
No.
rapid pace.
No, maybe we need to bring some Newark Airport technology out here, you know, and we'll keep changing
There's
it. No,
there's no
we're not cynical.
there's
we're
no
not at all.
completion bonus.
There
that's
is,
for sure.
No, exactly. It's an ongoing project.
Yeah. Well, I think you've seen some nice projects come up there recently.
When you say where?
On Route 31, you know, heading through Clinton, you know, the Bourbon Street Liquors just did that.
They did the
phenomenal
rehab of
renovation.
Rudel, the old Rudel.
You know, that was
You've got
long.
Ocean Job Lots.
Yep, finally
you know,
have a
taken
tenant in
over.
there.
Yeah,
by far the
yeah.
best store in the area. Have you been in there?
I have been. I
Oh,
bought
my-
an
you can get
electric.
I want to give a
there.
plug for
Yeah.
those
Anything.
guys.
Yeah.
I used to go. They have one on Cape Cod, obviously, because they're out of Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
Man, when I saw that came in there, my eyes lit up. I was like,
Yeah.
bingo!
Yeah. Yeah. No,
What a
you're right.
great store, man.
Yeah.
Great product mix, good prices.
Yeah. Yeah, which is surprising because, you know, you're talking relatively low dollars per item.
Absolutely, it's not a high end store,
No,
but man, they've
no.
got everything in there.
They do.
It's an awkward place to get into, but so what? I mean, you know.
Well, I've actually only been in there once, but I did leave with, Manny, this is for you, an eclectic mix of items. I had chocolate truffles. I had an electric jug that I'd actually gone there, and it has a pretty cool blue light.
An
and
electric
things.
jug?
Jug, you know, to boil water. Because,
Oh,
you
like
know
a tea
why?
kettle type of thing?
Yeah, because I actually bought some, long story short, very quickly, some very high-end coffee. And then I didn't have my grinder anymore due to marital splits, not to... And then I needed a French press, or I
Having with
thought
you
I
and
did.
not at you.
Yes, And so out of it became a very expensive bag of coffee, and I do also now have the Keurig filter things that
There
I
you
can
go.
add it
Yeah,
in.
the
But-
little do your own
yeah,
Keurig.
which it's all
Works
good.
great.
It's all good, and I can also have a cup of tea in a pot if I need to. But Ocean Job Lots, you've got the thumbs up from Bruce,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, and
It's killer good.
so that actually brings us to one other bigger box store, Costco.
Yeah,
You know,
what's up with Costco? I
Well,
thought it was supposed
let
to be
me
in last
frame it
year.
up so we can give Wayne a little
Please
bit of
do.
time to. I have heard everything from some of the existing businesses in town are a little sensitive to a store like that coming in and potentially, and I can understand that. Not sure if that's even a factor. I have heard about some of the site development issues, but I think it's all been overcome since it's all been paved and they really just want the pad in there, literally. You know, are they going to have liquor there? I would love to have.
I don't
liquor
know if
there.
there's wholesale liquor going in there or not.
Don't know.
For
Don't know if
retail
you can
either.
talk about that, you know. But we're certainly like a dry town here. It's like the Utah
Really,
or
you
Salt
know,
Lake City of the
side
north.
story, I drove all the way to New Mexico for college. It was 18 at that. I'm so old. It was 18 back then, drinking here in Jersey. I get out there and drove like 40 hours. It's August. It's in eastern New Mexico. And there's like tumbleweeds blowing down the main street of the university. I walk in the administration building. I said, "Excuse me, ma'am. Is there anywhere I can get a beer?" She goes, "You're in a dry town, Sonny.
Yeah,
This county's been dry since Prohibition. Turn around, go 40 miles back the other way on Interstate 40."
Yeah,
I said, "You kidding me?" She goes, "I'm not laughing, am I?"
yeah.
Holy mackerel!
Well, as
So
Nucky
it's-
Thompson says, Prohibition was the best thing that actually happened for them because
Yep.
you know it increased the demand and the supply. They had
kind of like the
control.
war on drugs, isn't it?
Well, yeah, look, don't
I'm
you
sorry,
bring up
don't get
any
me
more
started.
of those theories. Come on, we're trying to keep it on the straight and narrow. We want to keep, but back to some of these developments. Obviously, you're zoning. You have ideas because like the classic was in Reddington, and we shouldn't pick on that area, but they cut down a whole lot of trees to put in a Walgreens. I'm sure you've
On
seen
that
it.
corner, and then built.
And they didn't have enough other sites that they could have, and I'm sure Walgreens really wanted that location, but it doesn't seem to me to have really made sense. You
How
know?
many truckloads of dirt did they bring in there to build the Great Wall of China around
They're
it?
very
too?
specific though. Those type of stores, all they want is, you know, they want an intersection, they want a certain, you know, traffic
Oh, the-
demand, and
Yeah.
you know, their requirements are so
The
strict.
sighting of some of
Yeah.
these I was just reading an article about the sighting requirements of that's why you don't see, you know, Starbucks going in. These guys have it down to such detail on the demographics and the traffic patterns that he's right. They'll spend another $200,000 on a site prep because that beats 3 blocks down the road and it's going to pay off. It's scary, the analytics that go into this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the one nice thing about, you know, if towns like Clinton opt into the Highlands, what you hopefully would see is more of these abandoned properties going to be redeveloped because that's where you get the exemption. You know,
For the impervious
redevelopment.
coverage and-
Yeah, if you're already impervious, if you already have a sewer demand, you can redevelop, do expansion, but vacant land may not. So
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
You know, the
Hopefully
only
we'll
thing is
see
I
that
haven't
first.
seen that yet because wouldn't they do it before because it'll be less restrictive? Or are you saying once they're into it? And just to clarify, it's not Clinton Town, it's the township.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, right now they won't. There's no point because right
Right.
now they can develop anywhere. They'd rather go to the vacant piece of land,
Start from scratch.
and start from scratch. But once that goes in, you know, you're allowed 125% development of what's the existing impervious. So if you have a vacant piece of land, it does you no good. At least if you have a lot of gravel and a dilapidated building, you can demolish the whole thing, expand it by 25%. You know, hopefully there will be a period there where people start to move on projects like that. And then my understanding is down the road, the towns can decide to designate corridors for development.
Okay.
So once they opt in, they can start picking out areas of a stretch of land to say, we want our Route 31 corridor to be improved. And then they can change the requirements to develop in those areas and maybe bring some potential for growth back. So, you know, but maybe that'll be delayed just long enough to see some of these dilapidated properties restored.
I just want my MTV back.
Tony,
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't want
serious.
to
Sorry.
jump on your toes, but
Yeah.
living in Clinton, let's talk about some. You're familiar with Clinton, obviously. The old Agway building has been there for years,
Yep.
right? Huge property, huge potential because the lot is huge. It's just sitting there sucking wind decay. There's an empty building, the Move building, as we call it, those of us who are old enough and know Philadelphia,
yeah.
that's abandoned and been condemned for years. What about and it was a historic site down there on the other end of town, the old Coldwell Banker office, which was truly a historic building.
That's a historic?
Oh, that was owned by a real predominant figure, one of the colonels or generals in the Revolutionary War, and why that was allowed to be, and it's going to fall down now, it's gone. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which building is this? The
the one on the corner of Coldwell Banker used to have their office in, that three-story
where they actually
Dutch
turn
Colonial.
around. You're going up 31 North. You do the loop to come around. By Finagle's. There was that. It's a brick building, but
No, it's not
yes,
brick.
okay.
It's not brick.
Oh,
No.
Oh,
It's
you're
the-
talking where they were.
It's the Dutch
before that
Colonial on
one.
the corner. Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
people were
I know
using
where.
it for an ad hoc parking lot because,
Sure.
of course, we can't provide parking in that town for anybody. But or the bus people riding the buses. But that's a shame that, and there's no it's years with no redevelopment, no movement on these places, and they're an eyesore.
Well, working right now on the redevelopment of the Bonnell Tavern in downtown
Sure.
Clinton.
Which is that's where the Minutemen gathered to
One of
before
the
the
most
Revolution. One of the
historically significant
yeah.
sites you
You're
could
going to
think
have
of.
to come
Yes.
back. You're going to have to come back. I'm saying
Yeah,
this. in my own
Bonnell's
jeopardy, but-
Tavern is
Oh,
just an incredible piece of history.
Yeah, and
And to let it go.
And they need more financial support. I mean, fixing these historic buildings is a big
Well,
burden.
here's the poster child
Yeah,
for that, right down the
absolutely.
street. What a shame to let that icon and that facade go.
Well, that's not the only one. I get ticked off because everything in here starts with the Union Hotel. There's so
Right,
many
the
other
other
projects
buil-
and things.
exactly.
And that was one of the consultants, and Phil Villela, who is sort of an unsung person on the committee here and on the bid. And we really should probably go back. So, Phil, if by some chance you hear this,
right.
would love you to come back on because you've got the experience. I don't think you've got any ongoing connections, and you could tell us what your thoughts were. He tried to one other time, but I think Joe was here and he kept cutting them off.
But that whole mindset of reutilizing and reviving old historical buildings, which will never be duplicated. I don't care how much money you
So
got.
you're buying into what Flemington's saying because let's quickly. I realise now
Well,
we've got 6 minutes,
right.
Unless Buana over here
Yeah, we
allows
can
us to
look.
go.
We
can
own
go
the
over.
network, so we can go
There you
over
go.
if you need to.
Well, and there's not many shows you're going to come on.
Yeah,
This
right.
is not a casting call for you, by the way. So
He's going to be doing our voiceovers.
Well, I can see.
Thank you very
advertising.
much.
Yes, yes, and we will be taking photos afterwards. The redevelopment. We haven't really covered too much on septic. I might have got you here under false pretenses, but
Not a problem.
that's not the first time I've been told.
Won't
that.
be the last.
Last year, and we will get back to that. But what are your thoughts on the redevelopment as you understand it?
I'm torn, to an extent. I see the, Mr. Cuss' vision to, expand and redevelop the town, and I think
Revitalize,
that's needed.
yep.
But,
Yeah.
I personally, I hate to see the hotel go, but from an economic perspective, the building is in awful shape. And,
Absolutely. It has been for quite a
what
few
you'd
years.
have to put into it to what you could get out of it. I don't know that you're ever going to find somebody who can economically find a
You
justification
cannot
to do it.
criticize Jack Cust for being a businessman. That's the reality.
Should
And
we
I'll
be doing
nice.
5-story buildings in town? Probably not. But
I think it's 6.
yeah, 6. But
With the
maybe
units
that's
on
just
top.
a starting point.
No, but
Oh,
But could you elaborate on that? Why you think that's inappropriate?
I mean, just look at the character of the town.
Okay.
You don't have buildings.
No,
like
I
that.
understand that.
And then I think one of the funny ones I've seen, and I don't remember where it was, but they allowed somebody to put in a 5-story building in a town that only had 3, and then what did they do? They all of a sudden the town needed to put out a $500 bond request for a ladder truck that could get
of
the
course.
extra story. So do we really want to allow something like that, and then all of a sudden our taxes go up to afford the infrastructure to accommodate it?
right.
Point taken. I think
but
it's a valid point.
It's not what the town really is. I think the buildings here are 3 stories. If you had something similar to that, it'd be at least in keeping with the neighborhood. You could design it architecturally to make it fit the area. Find something.
Well, that's what I'd
appropriate.
like to see. Now, one point, in Clinton Township, there was southbound past Payne Road there. They have some colonial-looking buildings, red tin roof. I mean, I think they're elegant-looking buildings. The Annandale complex there, up from the deli there, which are all the brick buildings.
Oh
right
yeah,
before.
yeah, on the corner.
Stuff
of
looks
Old
great.
Ellison.
I like that. It's in character with this being, the crossroads of the revolution and stuff. Is it feasible? Is it as cheap to do as slab-sided commercial buildings? No, of course not.
Yeah.
But I think where do you draw the line where you keep in character for the town, and you also let people like Mr. Cuss do something that's going to make money for him and be profitable and feasible? I think that's an interesting question to ask, and I think far too many times municipalities go overboard in trying to keep the character with all the best intentions, and they end up, they're killing the golden goose and therefore nothing happens. I mean, if you say no to everything, you're not going to get anything going on.
You need compromise.
But I also think that it's possible to have your cake and eat it too, if you work collaboratively instead of saying no and you fight me to get what you want. You're in the business, so the uphill battle that a lot of projects get aced because people say, I'm not going to fight that battle for 5 years. And I subdivided a lot that was conforming in the town of Clinton, and because this was years ago, and the town of Clinton had no provision for a minor subdivision. I had to go for a major subdivision. I had geologists, I had hydrologists, I had to do
environmental impact.
Unbelievably, for a lousy single, because they had no provision for a lousy corner lot, and you know what? It cost me $3,000 more to get the lot subdivided than I would have gotten to sell it. So I put a house on. The nonsense I had to go through, and it was 7 years of screwing around. So figure out tying up your money. That's baloney. You know what? People should be shot for that stuff.
Well, I've just got to step in, and you say whether I'm right or wrong. There are a lot of other municipalities, Bruce, that stop things that are on the books that they shouldn't be.
Sure.
And I'll give one example. Califon. You try and develop
in Califon. Forget it.
Yeah. And I swear
I'm not
to God,
singling out
the
Clinton
most
by any means.
straightforward applications that I've seen and heard about, and they've tied it up for 2 years, they have extracted onerous conditions from people that could have sold those same rights for a lot more.
Exactly.
And they want to be, they're good businesses. And look, I'm not picking on Califon.
Or Clinton or anybody else. The bottom
exactly.
line is,
yeah.
I watched when I had property in Clinton, in Hampton, and they brought a guy in to redevelop the old, what was the switchyard, the railroad switchyard. It was an interesting concept. It was they would take fluidized bed generating of the slag piles up in the Wilkes-Barre area, and had all the scrubbers, and said you can do, it was a fascinating proposal. The guy was going to put in all the sewer lines and all the water lines in the whole town of Hampton. He would backhaul all their garbage on the railroad trains. They already had a railroad going through there.
Mm-hmm.
They ran him
reverse, going out to Pennsylvania
at
instead of
no
going
cost.
east.
He said you can put all your garbage in, I'll haul it out. All you have to pay is a tipping fee.
And what did he want?
They ran him out of there like he was.
But what did he want? What was the?
He wanted the use of this old rail coaling yard.
Yeah,
to put in the generating plant and the scrubbers.
For coal.
For coal.
For cleaning the
what
coal.
they were doing is taking the coal that was left in the.
Yeah.
You see those slag piles. There was a lot of coal.
Well, coal,
Well, this was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But the point is, the municipality ran them out of town on a rail. He didn't even get a chance to do a proposal.
When we want to go,
and there are no ratables in Hampton.
I'm sure you could quote them chapter and verse, but let's face it, so many projects have failed that never should have, and some of the most desirable corporate citizens or business citizens haven't even been given the opportunity. And going back, and it's like if you look at the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, and you look at its precursor back in 2007, it was managing growth.
Right.
And it took quite a long time to actually come to grips. Guys, the world has turned, particularly our world. So any of the things that we just said, ring true to you, or you have any comments?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think towns just need to understand where they're at and make decisions on how they're going to help people. Like the fact that, Bruce, that you had to, be a major subdivision.
Killed me.
If nothing else, they should have then waived the requirements. That's what we asked for, waivers. Does it make sense that we do X, Y, and Z? No. So you don't make the guy do it. We did. We just permitted the new bourbon street liquors in Bethlehem Township on 173.
173.
They demolished that awful liquor store, if you could even call it that.
Well, it wasn't a liquor store; it was a
Yeah.
shed
And
up on Jugtown Mountain.
Right.
Nothing
and-
wrong with sheds. Sorry.
Yeah, I've lived in one many years.
Okay.
But we're working through the
I wonder
final
what was
permits
going
there, and
There's
they
an
couldn't have
abandoned
been more
garage up
welcome.
the street there. Just up the street, there's an
Well,
abandoned
the
garage.
landslide used to be a biker bar. Why can't
Right.
we go back to our roots? Sorry,
know,
instead of the country music.
But welcoming. I mean, they were a good town. They understood the value of getting rid of a dilapidated property and letting
Right.
something go back.
Yeah.
And
Here's a question: why didn't they allow all the development that was proposed back by the Hundred Hills Playhouse, a hotel? This is a commercial area. This is a rhetorical question.
well,
it's
that's
a-
Union Township.
That's Union Township.
Yeah.
Why didn't
No.
Union Township blackball that? And you may
Yeah,
have
why?
insight
Why?
into that.
Come
Okay,
on.
come on.
Union Township, I find that the dividing line
Line is
between
very
Union and Bethlehem
distinct.
is
It's
very
quite-
distinct.
It's
Yeah.
I have a
very
project
solid.
on 173, half a mile down from that one in Union, and it's been stalled for 5 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Look
know,
at what's going
Foster
on.
Wheeler.
good project.
Yeah.
You know, a one where dilapidated property.
What would you do
know.
with Merck in 30 seconds? no,
Hey,
no. Have you even thought about that?
It's a
As
huge
a
property.
corporate,
I mean, who
yeah,
are you
have
going to
you
find
ever
to
been
take
in
that?
there and seen through it? And what-
I've
been
driven
in there
through it.
many
It's-
times.
and you're an engineer, you understand the operating costs and the whole pendulum.
You have a very specific buyer you're looking for, and
There's not a lot of them out there.
and Reddington, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, great town, but they cannot be the easiest to work with either, and you have to make that decision if you're
You've been
if
in
you're a
this political
developer.
game long
Do you
time.
want to be the one who
Yeah, he's
goes
political.
in there?
He is. He's very seasoned. He's slick.
slick
He's
as-
slick. Not the
he's
easiest
slick as
town to
he's
work
slicker
with.
than horse snot, as they used to say
Wow.
in New Mexico.
Well, you drink blackberry nip too? Okay.
Hey, thank you
look,
for being on, man.
Yeah. Have we got any more time, or should we actually just
yeah,
say
you probably ought to
we
pull
are
a plug.
going to have Wayne come back? Because apart from job security, I'm happy
At the
to
risk of
extend
job security.
at the risk, and. So Route 31, the rundown. You'd like to see some of those existing sites being reused
Absolutely.
with
Who wouldn't?
interesting projects. You even brought up Agway. You really put in a dagger in my heart in Clinton.
I brought up Agway.
I've got clients that would like that, and if you're listening, anyone, please help a poor realtor here try to find the right use for it.
We want to put a
We've got
studio in
several.
there. What a great studio and production facility.
Well, let's not go off on that one. Contractor and storage yard. That was a great pickup on your part because there are a lot of different people around, and I've actually had people ask. One of the funny things, I really thought I'd found a perfect location, and this lady's son, who's a large contractor, said, no, the taxes are too high. He would rather go over to Bedminster and some of these other places
Jeez.
and be there. And I went, wow. But some of their tax rates for the property
Big
are
lots,
not
a big
that
building.
bad.
Yeah.
And he was wanting to put heavy commercial parking spaces in. So you absolutely understand and highlighted one area that we don't cover. I know Mendham Gardens and things, putting up signs and things, they've had trouble. And, some of the inspection processes, shall we say, have been problematic for many buildings. And some of the towns have started to change that, but it takes what seems like a long time.
Yeah,
You know?
the towns are very restrictive where they want that. It's there's a specific location, and there's only so much property in those locations, so
Yeah.
it's harder to find those.
Yeah. Well, we're not as sought after as we potentially used to be. Your point, Bruce, I think about businesses going to Pennsylvania. Excellent point.
Well,
But
vote with their wallet.
Well, I'm also saying we don't just have to look towards New York City.
No.
Philadelphia, even Scranton and some of these other places with their older industries, is there the potential to actually have other routes and corridors, rail or some other
Right.
hybrid, going that way too?
Well,
I'm
that
all
Conrail
for
link
the
is still there.
conversation.
There should be. I think I would find it hard to believe that you would have a lot of pushback from any citizen to say, should we extend the rail lines and commuter rail all the way out into the Lehigh Valley? Because it
There's
would take
always
that
pushback,
burden. Well, but
you know.
it would take anybody that has to deal with 202, 80, or 78 will never complain about that if you give them options.
But our rail systems, oh my God. Yeah,
They're a joke.
It's like I live above the Lebanon train station, and it is not a workable schedule.
No.
It
Yeah.
It just
You're going to go
doesn't
shopping
make
in the city.
sense.
That's the only
You-
thing
you
it's
know,
good for.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if you want to
And-
bring people back to Hunterdon County, it's one of the things we need now.
Oh, look,
And that's
agree.
why Highbridge, of all places, is getting a lot of these
It's a hub
apartments
because they got
have access to it, and it's
You know
not the
George
best schedule
Mueller?
there either.
The former freeholder, I'm sure. And have you ever had any conversations with him about development plans?
Not on that topic, no.
Well, he's maybe would have you both come back together for another, because he highlighted to me in Clinton Township, they were talking about the redevelopment. Bruce has heard me. I wane on, but partly to get other input.
right.
At the end of Petticoat Lane there, with 22 by the Honda dealership, they were looking at a multi-level train station parking building, because they're going to move the Annandale train station with NJ Transit's full support over to that location. They were also going to have the Transbridge buses going there, or whatever bus franchise
Whatever.
that they
Yeah,
choose.
whomever.
And my view was, well, why not also put in some housing around there too? Because it's
Make it a
nestled
hub.
down.
Yeah, make a hub out of it.
And this was about 12 or so years ago, and the then Clinton Township regime were against it. And
Because it would
nobody
service people
wants
that
it.
work from Clinton Township. That was
Well,
the
that-
quote in the
but-
paper. Oh, really? What a surprise.
whether it's Australia, Europe, or the US, nobody wants a train line, and certainly not a station in your backyard.
Sure.
True?
I don't know.
Do you want one on Rupel?
Hey, I would rather that than the traffic trying to beat around 78 every day coming through, because
Okay.
they still haven't opened up the access road on the other side, and they're going to redo exit 15 again, and Union Township is not going to give them access past the women's prison. Yeah, you're darn right I would.
Good. Well, Bruce Pearson for mayor. We've started the
don't think that's
campaign
gonna happen,
here,
baby.
or what? But
No,
you need to get out
not
and
gonna happen.
promote that. But
Not
most
happening.
people, I can tell you, I lived in a couple of places around Sydney, and there was this new rail line corridor, and it's just like back in Nucky Thompson's day. They are very sought after, and who's going to have the off ramps, or who's going to have the station nearby, who's going to have the funding for it, who's going to build the roads.
Well, just like in
Jersey.
Blazing Saddles, Rock
Oh,
Ridge.
Yeah.
Is it going to go through Rock Ridge, or are we going to bypass it? There you go.
and-
There's
and
your
we
answer.
can make jokes about it, but
But
it is
it's
still
very
very
serious.
true.
Yeah.
Because it's a business, and so we've gone over. Hopefully, we're not holding up from your
at all.
lovely wife. Any other sort of ideas on septic? How much longer do we have?
We should really pull the plug on
We
it.
really should. Well, we should probably do a lot of things, but do we? Okay.
When you're ready.
Yeah.
Sorry, you
get
can always
this.
bring me back.
Contact stuff.
Yeah. Well, septic. Just last question. You better than anybody know that there are systems out there, as we discussed, that can very efficiently and economically provide processing for multiple dwellings, and even feed the outflow of that water through filters into the highest category streams. Correct?
New Jersey doesn't allow a direct discharge, but if you have, there are options these days that didn't exist 5-7 years ago on how you can, treatment devices you can install that'll, everybody talks about eliminating the mounded septics.
Yep.
They can also, on smaller lots, give you the ability to shrink your field so you can get more density. Certainly, we're in a better situation we are now, now that the state has come on board with some of those ideas on what to do. I mean, in Europe...
Well, coming on board, you can go to laboratories and verify that this actually works
sure.
in practice. And I've got to sort of push a little bit here and say, I know it works, as you do, as an engineer,
Sure.
right? So it's the political will, but at the same time making sure that it's sustainable, because nobody needs to put an infrastructure and then it falls over and you have the problems with lead in the water and whatever else that's current. Correct?
Sure, absolutely.
But as far as septic systems for multiple dwellings, is there an economy of scale?
So the way that the rules work is if you're
Well, not
over...
the rules. I'm asking you as an engineer because, look, the rules that we have are ridiculous in many respects, some of which are very good, but I'm just making an outlandish statement to see what sticks. But from an engineering perspective, engineers can do anything. We all know. You give them a thing of duct tape and
Could we
you can
design
fly
it?
to the moon.
Sure. It's can we get it... unfortunately, that's what it's come to is can we get it permitted? You have people that review what we do,
Yep.
and it's very rigid.
And you have
Yeah.
a lot of volunteer people that aren't engineers that are
that
Is
are
that
the
not
ones
fair?
who make the decisions. Yeah.
Right.
So you have to hope
Thank
that
you.
they listen to us
We think
rather
you need
than
to have 10 inches of asphalt in that part. Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think
Let's
that?
add some clay to that field out there. And I'm talking about a township called Chester
Yeah.
that actually has required that of people, only to find that clogs. You're going to have to change that.
who'd have thought.
Who
Yeah.
would have thought?
And I'm serious.
Sure.
So back to the point, economies of scale. Without the sewer infrastructure that you'd think at the municipal level, which we know scales, but of course it's very challenging to connect all these outliers because you need more.
Sure.
Right? Just like with the internet, the telcos and the internet service providers are going to go where they can basically cherry pick, and density is important for them, right? So if you were on a planning board of the Mystical Society, would you be looking to suggest some changes and actually embracing bringing people out that wanted to live in a medium density type arrangement?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's something that we don't have a lot of out here. I
We
think
really don't,
it's
do
certainly something that could be in demand.
Yeah, and investigate. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
And I do not see the treatment of our wastewater as a impediment necessarily to
shouldn't be.
achieving that.
It can be
shouldn't.
done. I mean,
Yeah.
we know it can be done. There, if you look
Absolutely.
at Europe, they do allow direct discharges, to streams.
Well, when you say don't allow direct, if you're going through processing and filtration and all
Still
these
can't
other,
do it.
you still can't go into that. I mean, through the ground.
No. Well,
You-
through the ground,
you
you
can
can.
do-
That's
yeah,
not
you can
direct
do direct,
discharge.
yeah. I
Well,
Direct
we're not
discharge
talking
is
of
a
just having
pipe
a
going.
pipe. Yeah.
Well, the output of his processing going as an output pipe, liquid going directly into the
Even
stream.
though
No.
it could be potable water, you are still not allowed to have that pipe going through, because in Australia, that they actually have two systems. You have potable and water.
Grey water, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but you could drink that water. It's just you have two taps, one to wash the car and water the lawn, and one to,
Right.
it's virginal water, I guess
Sure.
we think of it. But what water hasn't been reused because it's
Well,
sort of a
exactly.
cycle.
Yeah, think about that.
Yeah.
You're drinking somebody's beer from the Middle Ages, so just remember that.
Thanks very much for that, Bruce. That's a good visual.
It's already been
If
used.
you're listening
too.
at home, I'm sorry for that, but I haven't got on any of that linked
There's no
armor.
fresh water in this world. It's all been used about 10,000 times.
Even if it's been frozen.
Well, think about where it came from when it was frozen. It was dragged up off the planet somewhere, and at that point, when it was out there laying in the Raritan River and got evaporated up, yeah, it's already been used. Don't worry.
Neanderthal man has peed on you
Yeah,
already.
that too.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a happy thought. Wayne, I'm sorry you had to go through this. You've nearly finished the red liquid that we gave you. Any closing comments, observations about Bruce or myself, or
And how do
or
people get in
Joe?
touch with you? We'll
And-
put your
oh,
website
oh,
on.
I had a
lookies.
wonderful time.
You really did? You
Absolutely.
would potentially come back?
Absolutely.
How do we get in touch with you?
So again, our website is www.elp-inc.com. Phone number 908-238-0544.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
It really is very refreshing to hear someone that can speak their mind. Unfortunately, you're surrounded by other people that talk more than you.
And who
you
have
know.
no mind.
Exactly. So thank you. It's good night from me, and it's good night from you, Bruce. I'm sure it's good night from Joe.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Thank you. Good night.